Hello YouTube, this is Azrael. Giving a quick update and a virtual response. We're keeping the cat, of course, now. I mean, we dropped $100 on her. Her name will be Freya, and her health checks out. She had a small little parasite problem, but she's on medicine for that, and it's a done deal. Now, the VR is for one of my friends online who asked me, would I be willing to talk about deity? It's a subject I haven't really talked a lot about on my channel, and I wasn't really going to include it too much in the lessons because, you know, if you believe in a God, you're going to know about the God you worship. Well, at least in theory. But yeah, okay, so I'm a ceremonial magician. Identify myself first as a ceremonial magician. And as such, kind of traditionally the Abrahamic God kind of thing, with the Solomon's magic, summoning this demons and angels and so forth. Now, that being said, I believe the universe is God, or goddess, so neither. It's neither a male or female. If you look through a lot of religions, you always see the number 3 when you talk about deities. The Hindus believe in one God that is 3, and then of course they also believe in the other gods. A lot of Wiccans believe that the God and Goddess are representations of a higher being. So in a sense, that's just like, just like Christianity. You have Jesus and the Holy Spirit, who are the same being, but they're different manifestations of the same being. So in some cases, these kind of Wiccans that believe that could be monotheistic, and they just don't know it. But either way, I believe the universe is God. I believe all gods, for the most part, are more than likely thought forms. And for those of you who are watching this and have not watched my other videos, a thought form is basically an artificial intelligence, an artificially created spirit that has been programmed to act a certain way. Okay, so these energy forms are like spiritual androids that can carry out certain tasks, but more importantly, because they have been outlined in a belief structure, kind of like a shell of energy. That's exactly what they are. They're basically batteries. So all these gods that people are worshiping are charging it up, and the more it's been worshipped, and the older it is, the more energy it's collected. Therefore, it becomes a very more powerful battery to help you in your magic. Of course, now one time I did speak to a spirit that, now this is not, I'm not pushing this on you, but from what, and I believe it makes logical sense to me. This spirit told me that we're not the only intelligent life in this vast universe. And there's other intelligent creatures that do what we do. They have created thought forms. So a lot of thought forms that we humans have interacted with were not created by humans, but they're still thought forms because they were created by something else. Okay, but just leave that there. But moving on. So, yeah, I do tap into a lot about the Abrahamic God, and I don't have a problem with that because I believe, and a matter of fact, archaeologists and Bible scholars are also starting to believe that the God of Abraham is actually the God El. Now, this is interesting because he is called El. Hebrew, El is the name of God, or is a name. El means God. So when I say Michael or Michael, it means he who is like God. El, God. Okay. However, the Canaanites had a god named El, and El is not really a Hebrew word. It is now, but thousands of years ago, it was an adopted word. The ancient Hebrew, I'm talking about thousands and thousands of years ago, is not the same as the Hebrew that is used today. Matter of fact, it matches the Canaanite language. So it is highly believed that the Jews were actually Canaanites that left their country to basically create their own religion, their own country, their own nation. So they plucked El out of their pantheon, the Canaanite pantheon. So he's actually a pagan god that's been monotheistically worshipped. El had a goddess named Asherah he was married to. And if you look in the Old Testament, you find that Moses said, do not place Asherah poles next to the altar of God. That's important because why would he say Asherah pole when that is exactly, it's a pole that represented the goddess. It's clearly he gave her and him a divine divorce, and made it a monotheistic belief. But in any case, moving on. As I've been also studying with my, getting more in touch with my ancestors, my family claims that we are descendants of Leif Erikson and Eric the Red, who are famous Vikings. So obviously, I've been getting more into my the Norse deities. Now, working with when I summon spirits, I tend to try to summon spirits within the same culture that they were in. So if I'm going to try to summon a Chinese spirit, I'd probably use a Chinese god or goddess. So a psychopomp, which I did a small video that I haven't uploaded yet, but a psychopomp, P-O-M-P, I believe. I'm very bad at spelling, but a psychopomp is a Greek word. It's a spirit that helps work with the dead. So if you type in psychopomp in Google, you'll get the Greek word and whatnot. But a psychopomp, basically Azrael, my patron saint, the angel of death. So when I work with him, I do kind of work with the Abrahamic God, because even though Azrael is actually was adapted by the Zoroastrians, I believe, into the Hebrew and Christian construct, the energies are now enough for that. So I do usually invoke Abraham for that, the God of Abraham for that. But I would try to evoke the gods before I try to get a working relationship with them first. But I will try to, if someone is, like I said, a Chinese spirit, or not necessarily a dead spirit, but like a demon or an angel or a nature spirit, I will try to use the gods that reign over them. It's the same thing if you are invoking demons, you might be invoking the infernal kings that rule over them. But in any case, I work with nature spirits as well. I love the fairy energies. I believe that, like I said, all gods are pretty much thought forms, but the gods I usually work with, that when I'm not working with the Jewish Kabbalah concept, it's usually the Norse deities or the Greek. Haiti would be a psychopomp, which I would work with. The Greek version of Azrael, the angel of death, would be Thanatos, and I would work with him during necromantic rites. If I have not yet done it yet, but if you're going to be wanting to be a necromancer kind of like thing, and you're wanting to use a Norse deity for that, you would use Hel. For those of you who don't know that, that's H-E-L, not H-E-L-L, but that's probably where the word came from. Hel is the daughter of Loki, who she looks like she's beautiful, beautiful flesh living on one side of her body and rotting and decay or bones on the other. She rules over, well, the underworld, Hel. So I have not yet worked with her yet, but I'm getting familiar with her energies. In any case, so yeah, I'm very fluent. You name it. I mean, I've prayed to Adam and Eve to help find a mate. I've prayed to Venus or Aphrodite. I'm very fluent, because in the end, I firmly believe all the gods were created because, in the end, I believe that the universe is God, or goddess. The universe can be separated into basic three energies: positive, negative, neutral. If you look around at most religions, you see some kind of triune being: Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Bait, Mother, Crone. Three is very important in the universe, even with all of its dark matter and you name it, whatever you want to call it. In the end, there's positive, negative, and neutral. All energies fall within that frame somewhere. Either it's moving or it's not, and it's either charged positively or negatively. So yeah, I myself, I believe the universe is God, and because the ancient man, as well as modern men, they might love nature and think they can have a personal relationship with nature, but in the end, it's really hard to identify yourself with a tree. So the concept is, these thought forms, or gods, or thought forms that have become gods, work as an intermediary between us and the universe. Since, again, we can't relate to a tree. We might love a tree, might think it's beautiful, but we're not a tree. We can't relate to a tree. So just like every religion tends to make gods believe in the culture and a predominant race of that culture on an average, we do the same thing. It's easier for us to worship Venus or Hera because she's a woman and they have a backstory, they can be relatable as opposed to an oak tree. And so that's basically how I view things. So again, I will work with any deity so long as it resonates. Again, I lean heavily to the Greek, Norse, and of course Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, or you might know it as Yahweh. But I do not believe the Bible to be accurate at all. and well, I mean, she's got some points, but that's probably for a more in-depth discussion if I'm ever going to talk about religion and why I don't believe this one, or why do I accept this. But I believe that, again, religion is man-made, and the gods that they created for their religion is man-made for the most part. It might have a divine consciousness separate from man creating it, but either way, we're still calling it whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so hope that answered your question. My favorite angels obviously is Azrael, and then the 4 cardinal angels, Raphael, Michael, who represent the four elements. If you watch my LBRP, you basically petition them to stand to the 4 cardinal directions. And anyway, thank you, and thank you for all y'all's overwhelming support to encourage us to keep the cat. We have 6. There are 6 cats now. We just today found that dog I mentioned briefly. We finally found somebody to give it a home. So everything's going to be back to normal until the universe throws me another orphan my way. Anyways, thank you.